Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, feeling exhausted, not from work or daily responsibilities, but from a relationship that seems to drain your very soul? It might be a family member whose demands never end or a neighbor whose presence feels more like a storm than a breeze. These connections, though close, often leave you questioning, why do I feel so weighed down? Life is a web of relationships, intricately woven from the bonds we share with family, friends, and neighbors. These ties can be a source of warmth, support, and laughter, or they can act as invisible chains that tether us to negativity and stress. As the Buddha taught, attachment is the root of suffering. While he referred to our clinging to desires, this wisdom also applies to the relationships we hold on to out of obligation, habit, or fear of change. Think about it. How often do we confuse proximity with importance? Just because someone is close to us, physically or emotionally, does not mean they are good for us. As we journey through life, it becomes increasingly clear that the quality of our relationships matters far more than their quantity. One meaningful, uplifting connection is worth far more than a dozen toxic ties. There's a profound truth in the saying, choose your friends wisely and your environment carefully. The people we surround ourselves with shape our thoughts, influence our emotions, and ultimately impact the trajectory of our lives. When you're with the right people, life feels harmonious, like a flowing river. But with the wrong ones, it can feel like swimming upstream against a current of chaos. In today's video, we'll uncover the types of relationships that weigh us down and explore how to gracefully set boundaries with those that disrupt our peace. You'll discover the 3 types of neighbors to avoid: those who thrive on gossip, selfishness, or unhealthy lifestyles, and the 3 types of relatives to keep at arm's length: those who exploit your kindness, drain your energy, or fail to reciprocate your love. But this isn't just a list of people to avoid. It's a deeper exploration of how to align your relationships with your values and priorities. Through relatable stories and practical advice, we'll learn how to embrace the philosophy of mindful relationships, a balance between compassion and self-respect. And as we reflect on these dynamics, we'll draw inspiration from Buddhist teachings on detachment and inner tranquility, reminding ourselves that letting go is sometimes the greatest act of love for ourselves and others. So, if you've ever wondered how to create more peace in your life or struggled with the guilt of distancing yourself from toxic relationships, this video is for you. Together, we'll explore not just how to protect your energy, but how to cultivate the kind of connections that uplift your spirit and bring true joy. Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Each click is a step toward building a life filled with clarity, wisdom, and positivity. Let's embark on this journey of transformation together, and remember, the relationships you nurture today will shape the peace you feel tomorrow. Stay tuned, and let's get started. 3 types of neighbors to avoid. 1. The gossip. In every neighborhood, there's often a figure whose presence feels deceptively ordinary, a neighbor who always seems to know a little too much about everyone else's life. At first, their interest may seem innocuous, even flattering. They ask how your day was, inquire about your plans, and seem genuinely curious. But beneath the surface lies a pattern that, over time, can erode trust and disrupt your peace. These neighbors thrive on gossip, and their curiosity knows no boundaries. Imagine this: one afternoon, you casually mention to a neighbor that you're planning a short weekend trip to a nearby town. It's a simple, harmless exchange, one you barely give a second thought to. But a few days later, another neighbor greets you with a sly grin and asks how your luxury vacation abroad went. Confused, you realize your modest getaway has been inflated into an extravagant tale that's now circulating among the community. Such embellishments may seem trivial at first, but they carry the potential to create misunderstandings, damage reputations, and complicate relationships. The impact of gossip stretches beyond annoyance. It's deeply tied to how we experience trust and harmony in our social circles. In Buddhist philosophy, gossip is seen as a form of idle chatter, one of the 5 types of harmful speech that the Buddha warned against. Idle chatter distracts the mind, fuels unnecessary conflict, and pulls us away from the path of mindfulness and compassion. Engaging in or enabling gossip not only harms others but also disrupts our inner tranquility. As we become entangled in cycles of drama and judgment. From a practical standpoint, handling gossip requires a delicate balance of mindfulness and assertiveness. First, guard your personal life like a precious jewel. Share only with those you trust deeply. And even then, consider the necessity of disclosing details. A simple rule of thumb: if it doesn't serve a meaningful purpose to share, it's best kept private. This doesn't mean isolating yourself, but rather being intentional about the information you give and to whom. Second, approach gossipers with compassion, but maintain firm boundaries. A polite smile and a gentle shift in conversation can often deter a gossip without causing unnecessary tension. For example, if someone begins probing into your personal life, you might respond with light humor or redirect the topic to something neutral. By not feeding their curiosity, you subtly signal that your life isn't fodder for idle talk. Finally, reflect on your own role in maintaining peace. The Buddha taught that speech should pass 3 tests. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Applying this principle to our interactions helps us align our words with our values, fostering environments of trust and respect. If you find yourself tempted to contribute to gossip, pause and consider the ripple effects of your words. Are they bringing harmony or discord? Are they nourishing connection or breeding division? By choosing mindfulness over gossip, we not only protect ourselves from unnecessary stress but also create space for relationships rooted in authenticity and respect. In doing so, we embrace a life of greater clarity and calm, a life that reflects the wisdom of choosing peace over chaos. 2. The selfish neighbor. Kindness is a cornerstone of harmonious living, especially when it comes to neighbors. We expect mutual support, understanding, and the occasional helping hand from those who share the same street, yard, or apartment complex. But what happens when kindness is exploited? The selfish neighbor, though often polite on the surface, subtly turns generosity into obligation, leaving you feeling drained, unappreciated, and taken advantage of. Consider Mrs. Marge's story. Marge was the epitome of a good neighbor, always ready to lend a helping hand. Her neighbor Peter took full advantage of her generosity, asking her to pick up his mail, water his plants, and even clean his yard while he was away. Yet when Marge sprained her ankle and needed assistance with groceries, Peter suddenly became too busy. Excuse after excuse piled up, revealing a one-sided relationship where Peter's needs always took precedence. This imbalance left Marge questioning the value of her kindness, as it seemed to be met with nothing but indifference. From a Buddhist perspective, this dynamic reflects an imbalance of dana, or the principle of giving. True giving is meant to be an act of compassion, free from expectation, but it must also align with wisdom. The Buddha taught the importance of discernment in relationships, offering your energy, time, or resources where it cultivates harmony and growth, not where it perpetuates selfishness or exploitation. When kindness becomes an obligation or a tool for manipulation, it disrupts the natural flow of balance and creates tension, both externally and within. So how do we navigate such relationships while staying true to our values? The first step is recognizing the pattern. If you find yourself constantly giving without receiving any reciprocity, Not even a gesture of gratitude, it's a clear sign of imbalance. This doesn't mean kindness should be transactional. But mutual respect and acknowledgement are vital in maintaining healthy connections. Setting boundaries becomes the next crucial step. Saying no isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of self-respect. Imagine if Marge, early on, had kindly declined a few of Peter's requests or gently redirected him to seek help elsewhere. By establishing boundaries, she could have preserved her energy and ensured that her kindness wasn't taken for granted. Boundaries teach others that while you are willing to help, you are not a resource to be exploited. Equally important is the practice of compassionate detachment. In Buddhism, detachment doesn't mean indifference, it means engaging without clinging to expectations. You can offer assistance when it aligns with your values. But you are not responsible for carrying someone else's burdens entirely. This mindset allows you to remain kind without compromising your peace or well-being. Ultimately, relationships with selfish neighbors challenge us to balance compassion with wisdom. True kindness involves generosity that uplifts both the giver and the receiver. By practicing discernment, setting boundaries, and embracing compassionate detachment, we not only protect our own peace but also encourage healthier, more respectful connections. Through this lens, kindness becomes not just an act, but a principle that sustains harmony and fosters mutual growth. 3. The neighbor with an unhealthy lifestyle. Your home is your sanctuary. A place where you should find solace, rest, and a sense of balance after the trials of daily life. Yet, there are neighbors whose lifestyles create waves of disruption that ripple into your personal space. Their actions may not be intentionally directed at you, but the constant noise, chaos, or disregard for shared environments can erode the peace you work so hard to maintain. Picture this: you return home after a long day, longing for the quiet comfort of your space. Instead, you're met with the thumping bass of music blasting from next door, punctuated by laughter and shouting that carries into the late hours. Or imagine stepping outside to enjoy the morning air, only to find litter scattered across the shared lawn, left behind from yet another unruly gathering. These seemingly small disturbances add up, turning what should be a place of calm into a source of stress. From a Buddhist perspective, these challenges are a reminder of the impermanent and interconnected nature of life. The Buddha taught that suffering often arises when we resist or react emotionally to circumstances beyond our control. While you cannot dictate how others choose to live, you do have control over your response. This doesn't mean passively enduring, rather, it calls for skillful action that aligns with both wisdom and compassion. Begin by approaching the situation with mindfulness. A calm, polite conversation with your neighbor can sometimes work wonders. Express your concerns without blame, focusing on how the behavior affects your peace. For example, instead of saying, "Your parties are too loud," try, "I've been struggling to rest because of the late night noise." This framing invites understanding rather than defensiveness, creating space for resolution. However, not all attempts to address the issue will be successful. Some neighbors may be unwilling or unable to change their habits. This is where the principle of detachment becomes invaluable. Detachment in Buddhist philosophy doesn't mean indifference, it means releasing your emotional investment in things outside your control while still taking thoughtful action to protect your well-being. In practical terms, this may mean limiting your interactions with such neighbors, investing in noise-canceling measures, or even considering relocation if the disruption proves unmanageable. Additionally, reflect on the energy you allow into your life. The Buddha emphasized the importance of surrounding oneself with wholesome influences. Just as a healthy diet nourishes the body, a peaceful environment nurtures the mind. When faced with neighbors whose unhealthy lifestyles clash with your values, it's crucial to safeguard your mental space. This might mean focusing more on cultivating tranquility within, through meditation, mindfulness, or simply cherishing the areas of your home that still bring you joy. Ultimately, your home should remain a place of refuge, where you can reconnect with yourself and recharge. By addressing disruptive behaviors with compassion, maintaining healthy boundaries, and protecting your peace, you align your actions with the deeper wisdom of mindfulness. In doing so, you not only preserve your well-being but also create an example of harmony that may subtly inspire those around you. Peace begins within, and from there, it radiates outward, shaping the world we inhabit. 3 types of relatives to keep your distance from. 1. The borrower who doesn't repay. Money is often a sensitive topic, especially within the close-knit bonds of family. When financial support is extended, it's usually done out of love, trust, and a desire to help. But when that trust is broken, the resulting tension can ripple far beyond the financial loss, leaving emotional scars and a sense of betrayal. Take Linda's story. For instance, she lent her cousin John a significant sum to help him start a business. It wasn't just money she gave, it was faith in his word, a belief in his potential, and a commitment to support him in a time of need. But months turned into years, and John never repaid the loan. Each time Linda brought it up, John deflected with excuses, eventually accusing her of being rigid and lacking compassion. What began as an act of kindness ended with bitterness and strained family ties. This situation isn't unique. Many of us have experienced, or know someone who has experienced, the pain of unfulfilled promises, especially when money is involved. In Buddhist teachings, this can be seen as a misalignment with the principle of right action, part of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right action calls for honesty, integrity, and a commitment to not cause harm. When someone borrows money with no intention of repaying, they disrupt the harmony of a relationship and create unnecessary suffering, not only for the lender but also for themselves. The Buddha also emphasized the dangers of attachment, including attachment to outcomes. While it's natural to expect repayment, clinging too tightly to that expectation can intensify frustration and anger when it isn't fulfilled. This doesn't mean we should abandon accountability or accept being taken advantage of. It means finding a balance between protecting our peace and addressing the issue with wisdom and compassion. Before lending money to a family member, it's essential to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, can I afford to part with this amount, knowing there's a chance it may not be returned? If the answer is no, it's better to offer support in other ways, whether that's helping them explore alternative solutions or offering a smaller, manageable amount as a gift rather than a loan. If you do choose to lend, set clear boundaries and terms from the outset, not out of mistrust but as a way to maintain clarity and mutual understanding. When a loan goes unpaid, approach the situation with both honesty and compassion. A direct conversation is often necessary, but it should come from a place of respect rather than accusation. At the same time, it's important to recognize when to let go. In some cases, pursuing repayment relentlessly may cost more emotionally than the money itself. As the Buddha taught, clinging to resentment only deepens our suffering. Ultimately, lending money within a family is a delicate balance between generosity and self-preservation. The most valuable currency in any relationship is trust. And when trust is broken, it's a reminder to approach such situations with mindfulness and discernment. By protecting your financial stability and emotional peace, you honor not only your well-being but also the deeper wisdom of knowing when to hold on and when to let go. 2. The self-serving relative. In every family, there are relatives who seem to view relationships as little more than transactions. They're often charming and warm when they need something, be it financial assistance, a favor, or emotional support, but their presence tends to vanish when the tables turn. These self-serving relatives don't see relationships as a two-way street. Instead, they view others as resources to be tapped into whenever it's convenient. The result is a dynamic that leaves you feeling drained, undervalued, and questioning the sincerity of their connection. Imagine this: your cousin, always effusive and friendly, calls out of the blue. They talk about how much they miss you and recount shared memories from years ago. But before the conversation ends, the true purpose of their call emerges: a request for a loan, help moving, or assistance in dealing with a personal issue. You oblige, believing in the bond you share. Yet, when life throws challenges your way, this same cousin is suddenly too busy or dealing with their own problems. It's not the lack of help that stings, it's the realization that their care for you seems conditional, tied only to what you can provide. In Buddhist philosophy, this kind of dynamic reflects a lack of right intention, one of the guiding principles of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right intention emphasizes relationships built on goodwill, compassion, and a genuine desire for mutual well-being. When someone interacts with others solely for personal gain, they stray from this path, creating disharmony not only in their relationships but also within themselves. A self-serving mindset perpetuates disconnection and suffering because it places short-term gain over long-term trust and connection. So how do we address this type of relationship without losing our own peace? The first step is cultivating awareness. Recognize the pattern and acknowledge the emotional toll it takes. While it's tempting to hope that these relatives will change, it's important to accept that their behavior is often ingrained. This doesn't mean cutting them off entirely, but it does mean recalibrating your expectations and setting boundaries to protect your emotional energy. Setting boundaries might involve saying no to requests that feel exploitative or unsustainable. At first, this may feel uncomfortable, especially when dealing with family, where guilt and obligation often run deep. But boundaries are not barriers, they're guidelines that ensure relationships remain healthy and balanced. By expressing your limits with kindness and firmness, you not only protect yourself but also provide an opportunity for the other person to reflect on their behavior. Compassion, as taught in Buddhism, is another key element. Compassion doesn't mean enabling harmful behavior. It means approaching the situation with understanding rather than resentment. You can acknowledge their struggles without taking on the responsibility to fix them. In doing so, you free yourself from the cycle of feeling used and let go of the frustration that often accompanies unmet expectations. Ultimately, relationships with self-serving relatives teach us the value of discernment, knowing when to give, when to step back, and when to let go. By prioritizing mutual care and respect, we not only protect our own peace but also create space for deeper, more meaningful connections with those who truly value us. True kindness lies in this balance, ensuring that our energy is spent nurturing relationships that uplift and inspire rather than deplete and disappoint. 3. The lazy and dependent relative. Family bonds are often defined by love and support, a willingness to step in and help during times of need. But what happens when that help transforms into dependence, draining not just financial resources but emotional energy as well? It's a fine line between offering support and enabling, and crossing it can create a cycle that's difficult to break. Take the story of Mr. Joe and his son Adam. When Adam lost his job, Mr. Joe welcomed him back home with open arms, providing a safe place to land during a difficult time. At first, it seemed like the right thing to do, a gesture of unconditional love. But as weeks turned into months, and then years, it became clear that Adam had grown comfortable relying on his father's pension, rather than seeking new opportunities or taking steps towards self-reliance. He sank deeper into inactivity, showing little initiative to change his situation. For Mr. Joe, what began as an act of generosity turned into a source of financial strain and emotional exhaustion. The more he gave, the more Adam took, and the less motivated Adam became to stand on his own. In Buddhism, this dynamic can be understood through the concept of right effort. Right effort encourages us to take meaningful action, both for ourselves and in our relationships, to cultivate balance and growth. Supporting a struggling family member aligns with this principle when it empowers them to find their own strength. However, when that support fosters dependency, it disrupts the balance and creates suffering for both parties. True compassion isn't about removing every obstacle for someone else. It's about guiding them to overcome those obstacles themselves. Navigating this situation requires a shift in perspective and approach. It starts with recognizing the difference between helping and enabling. Helping involves offering tools, guidance, and encouragement that lead to independence. Enabling, on the other hand, involves removing all challenges, which often robs the other person of the opportunity to grow. In Adam's case, Mr. Joe might have set clear expectations early on, encouraging Adam to take active steps toward finding work or contributing to the household. Establishing boundaries is also essential. Saying no is not an act of cruelty, it's an act of love. By refusing to continually provide for a dependent relative without accountability, you create space for them to take responsibility for their own life. This might mean offering conditional support, helping with a job search, covering temporary necessities, or providing a timeline for transitioning back to independence. These measures communicate that while you care deeply, your role is to guide, not to carry their burdens indefinitely. The Buddha often used the metaphor of a bird learning to fly. While the parent bird provides the initial care, there comes a time when the fledgling must leave the nest and navigate the skies on its own. In relationships, this wisdom reminds us that growth and self-reliance are essential aspects of true well-being. When we empower others to take flight, we honor both their potential and our own need for balance. In the end, supporting a lazy or dependent relative is a delicate dance between love and accountability. By fostering independence rather than enabling dependence, you offer a gift far greater than temporary comfort. You offer them the strength to shape their own path. True kindness is not in carrying someone endlessly but in teaching them how to walk forward with confidence. Life is a series of connections, some fleeting, some lasting, some that enrich us, and others that weigh us down. As we've explored the types of relationships that can challenge our peace, it's important to take a step back and reflect on the broader philosophy of how we choose the people we allow into our lives and when it's time to let go. This process, though deeply personal, holds universal truths rooted in both wisdom and compassion. Choosing the right relationships begins with a commitment to self-awareness. Positive relationships don't just happen, they are cultivated through intentional choices. Pay attention to the people who surround you. Are they supportive? Do they uplift you during challenging times? Do they respect your boundaries, your time, and your energy? The answers to these questions often reveal more than words ever could. Buddhism offers profound guidance on this subject, particularly through the principle of Sangha, or community. The Buddha emphasized the importance of surrounding oneself with wholesome companions who embody kindness, wisdom, and integrity. A good Sangha nurtures personal growth and inspires us to stay true to our values. Similarly, the people in your life should reflect the kind of energy you want to cultivate within yourself. If someone consistently brings joy, inspiration, and support, their presence in your life becomes a source of nourishment for your soul. On the other hand, negative relationships act like a storm, unpredictable and draining. They disrupt the balance you've worked hard to maintain. Toxic relationships are often marked by a lack of respect, constant drama, or one-sided demands. These connections drain your energy and erode your sense of Letting go doesn't mean closing the door forever. It doesn't require bitterness or hostility. Instead, it's about creating healthy distance to preserve your peace and mental well-being. In Buddhist teachings, letting go is closely tied to the concept of upekkha, or equanimity, the ability to remain balanced and undisturbed, even in the face of difficult emotions or situations. Letting go, in this sense, is an act of love, both for yourself and for the other person. It acknowledges that clinging to a harmful relationship only perpetuates suffering for both parties. Letting go can be difficult, especially when guilt or obligation comes into play. You may worry about being seen as unkind or selfish, particularly in family relationships. But self-care is not selfishness, it's a necessary practice for maintaining balance. Think of it as tending to a garden. If a plant in your garden is withering despite your best efforts, sometimes the most compassionate choice is to let it go, allowing space for other plants to thrive. This doesn't mean the process will be painless. Saying goodbye to toxic patterns can stir feelings of sadness or loss. Yet, these emotions are a natural part of growth. In Buddhist philosophy, suffering often arises from attachment, holding on too tightly to things that no longer serve us. By releasing that grip, we open ourselves to freedom, clarity, and peace. As you let go, focus on building relationships that reflect mutual respect, sincerity, and shared values. These are the relationships that bring light into your life. Respecting yourself is the foundation of attracting such connections. When you set boundaries, prioritize your well-being, and show kindness toward yourself, you naturally draw people who align with that energy. It's like lighting a lantern in the dark, its glow attracts those who seek warmth and radiance, while those who thrive in shadows naturally fall away. Building quality relationships takes time and intention. Start by being the kind of person you want to attract. Embody honesty, kindness, and reliability. Show up for others in meaningful ways, and you'll find that the right people will gravitate toward you. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your successes, stand by you in your struggles, and challenge you to be the best version of yourself. It's also important to remember that no relationship is perfect. Even the most loving connections will have moments of conflict or misunderstanding. The key is not in avoiding these moments but in navigating them with compassion and respect. When both parties are committed to mutual growth, even challenges can strengthen the bond. As you journey through life, your relationships will inevitably evolve. Some will deepen, some will fade, and some will require conscious decisions to maintain or release. The philosophy of choosing and letting go is not about perfection, it's about alignment. It's about ensuring that the relationships in your life support your path toward peace, happiness, and fulfillment. In many ways, this process is a reflection of impermanence, a central tenet of Buddhist thought. All things are subject to change, and relationships are no exception. Embracing this truth allows us to approach relationships with an open heart, free from the fear of loss or the need for control. It empowers us to appreciate the connections that serve us while gracefully letting go of those that don't. Ultimately, the philosophy of choosing and letting go is an act of love. Love for yourself, as you honor your need for balance and well-being. Love for others, as you release them from the weight of expectations they may not be able to meet. And love for the journey itself, as you embrace the ebb and flow of connections with grace and gratitude. By practicing this philosophy, you create space for relationships that uplift and inspire you, shaping a life that is as peaceful as it is fulfilling. Life is a journey of discovery, not just of the world around us but of the value we hold within ourselves. The story of the young monk and the stone is a profound reminder that our worth is not fixed, it is shaped by our surroundings, the people we engage with, and, most importantly, how we perceive ourselves. In the context of relationships and personal growth, this story offers wisdom that is as timeless as it is transformative. Imagine the young monk, eager to understand the meaning of life and his place in it, approaching his master with a question many of us ask at some point. What is my value? Rather than offering a direct answer, the master hands him a stone, a seemingly ordinary object, and instructs him to take it to various places. At the market, the stone is valued at $20, a practical price for something seen as a mere utility. At the museum, it is appraised at $2,000, recognized for its aesthetic qualities and potential significance. Finally, at the antique shop, the same stone is offered a staggering $200,000, its rarity and historical value suddenly elevating it to a treasure. The young monk, puzzled yet enlightened, returns to his master with these varying valuations. The master smiles and gently explains. The value of the stone depends on where it is placed. Similarly, the value of your life depends on where you place yourself and how others perceive your potential. But most importantly, it depends on how you see yourself. This story holds a mirror to our own lives. How often do we underestimate our worth, placing ourselves in environments or relationships that fail to recognize our value? How often do we accept the judgments of others as the ultimate measure of our potential? The lesson here is clear: your worth is not determined by those who fail to see it, but by those who cherish and nurture it. And this begins with you. In Buddhist philosophy, this concept aligns closely with the idea of right view, seeing things as they truly are, free from illusions and distortions. Often, we attach our self-worth to external validations, measuring ourselves by the opinions of others or the roles we fulfill. But the Buddha taught that true value comes from within, from understanding our intrinsic nature and cultivating a sense of inner peace and purpose. The environments we choose play a significant role in shaping this understanding. If you place yourself in a market, surrounded by those who see only utility, you may begin to believe that your worth is limited to what you can do for others. But if you place yourself in a space where your unique qualities are celebrated, like the antique shop, you begin to see yourself through a lens of appreciation and possibility. Choosing the right environment is not about seeking validation, but about finding spaces that encourage your growth and align with your values. Relationships, too, are a reflection of this principle. Consider the people in your life. Are they like the market vendors, valuing you only for what you provide? Or are they like the antique dealers, recognizing your deeper worth and encouraging you to shine? The Buddha often spoke of the importance of Sangha, or community, emphasizing that the people we surround ourselves with can either support or hinder our path. A supportive community uplifts you, challenges you to grow, and reflects your highest potential back to you. However, recognizing your value isn't just about others, it's about self-awareness and self-respect. The young monk could have easily dismissed the stone as insignificant, unaware of its true worth. Similarly, we often overlook our strengths, talents, and inner light, downplaying our significance in the world. This is where mindfulness becomes a powerful tool. By cultivating mindfulness, we learn to observe ourselves without judgment, appreciating our uniqueness and embracing our imperfections as part of our inherent value. Letting go of environments and relationships that fail to honor your worth is not an act of arrogance, but of wisdom. The Buddha taught that clinging to things that no longer serve us creates suffering. If a place, a job, or a relationship diminishes your sense of self, it may be time to step away. This doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or rejecting challenges. It means aligning your life with spaces and people that reflect your potential and encourage your growth. This principle also extends to how we treat others. Just as we seek environments that value us, We must strive to create spaces where others feel valued. The story of the stone reminds us to look beyond the surface, to see the hidden potential in others and nurture it with kindness and respect. In doing so, we not only elevate them but also enrich our own lives, creating a ripple effect of positivity and connection. The stone's journey, from market to museum to antique shop, is a metaphor for our own evolution. At different stages of life, we find ourselves in different environments, each one shaping our sense of worth in unique ways. Some stages may feel limiting, like the market, where our potential is overlooked. Others may feel expansive, like the antique shop, where our value is fully realized. The key is to remember that your worth remains constant, even as its recognition changes. Ultimately, the story of the stone teaches us that the value of a human life is immeasurable. It cannot be reduced to a price tag, a role, or an opinion. It is defined by the depth of our relationships, the quality of our actions, and the authenticity with which we live. By choosing environments and connections that honor our worth and by seeing ourselves through the lens of compassion and self-respect, we align with the deeper truth of our value. As you reflect on this story, consider where you have placed yourself in life. Are you in an environment that uplifts and inspires you? Are you surrounded by people who see and celebrate your worth? And most importantly, do you recognize your own potential? Like the stone, your value is inherent, it simply requires the right setting to shine. Embrace this truth, and you'll find that life becomes not just a journey of discovery but a celebration of the unique treasure that is you. As we come to the close of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on the power of the choices we make in our relationships. Every connection we nurture, every bond we release, and every environment we choose shapes not only our lives but also the energy we bring to those around us. Relationships are more than just the people we interact with, they are reflections of our values, our aspirations, and the love we hold for ourselves and others. The path to building a fulfilling life begins with awareness. It's about recognizing what uplifts you and what holds you back. It's about letting go of relationships that dim your light and embracing those that help you shine. And most importantly, it's about treating yourself with the same kindness and respect you wish to receive from others. When you prioritize your well-being, you create a foundation of peace that radiates outward, touching every aspect of your life. This process is not always easy. Letting go of toxic relationships can feel painful, and building meaningful connections requires effort and vulnerability. But it's in these moments of discomfort that growth happens. Like a seed pushing through the soil toward the sunlight, you too are growing into the person you are meant to be. Each choice you make, no matter how small, is a step toward a life filled with joy, balance, and purpose. Take a moment to consider the people in your life. Who inspires you to be better? Who makes you feel seen, valued, and supported? And who, perhaps unintentionally, drains your energy or diminishes your sense of self? As you think about these questions, remember that you have the power to shape your relationships. You are not bound by guilt, obligation, or fear. You are free to choose a path that aligns with your heart and nurtures your soul. As we part ways, I want to leave you with an invitation. In the comments below, share something you've learned about relationships or a change you're inspired to make after watching this video. Your words might just inspire someone else who is seeking guidance or reassurance. Let's create a space of positivity, where we lift each other up and celebrate the power of connection. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Your presence here is a testament to your commitment to growth and self-discovery. I am deeply grateful for the opportunity to share these insights with you and to walk alongside you, even if just for a moment, on your journey. If you found this video meaningful, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel And turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next conversation. Together, we can continue exploring the lessons that lead to a more peaceful, fulfilling life. Until then, may your days be filled with love, kindness, and the joy of meaningful relationships. Remember, the power to create the life you desire is in your hands. Choose wisely, live authentically, and always honor the incredible worth that resides within you.